The concrete echoed their footsteps before I saw them. Dull yellow lights cast long silhouettes as Lawrence Finch and Stuart Webb approached from between the concrete columns. My fingers froze on my car keys. The parking garage level was deserted. Just my reliable sedan and their matching luxury vehicles remained in the quiet structure. "Evening," Stephen Lawrence said, his 6'4" frame blocking my driver's side door. His tailored suit could not hide his former athlete build. Stuart circled to my other side, trapping me between my car and these two senior managers. "Working late again?" Stuart asked, his voice deceptively gentle. He adjusted his glasses, the light catching on his gold band. "Dedication. That is what we have always admired about you." A chill ran through me despite the garage's lingering summer heat. Their unexpected appearance was no coincidence. 3 years at our firm under Lawrence and Stewart's supervision had taught me to recognize the signs, their synchronized movements, the practiced casualness, the way their eyes assessed my reaction. "What do you want?" I kept my voice steady. Lawrence's smile vanished. "We know what you have been doing." Stewart stepped closer, asking questions, taking notes, talking to people you should not. "The Safety Review Committee," Lawrence continued. "The accounting team, old employees who have left the firm. You have been busy." My pulse quickened, but I maintained eye contact with Lawrence. "I am thorough." "That is my job." "Your job," Stewart repeated, laughing softly. "Your job is what we say it is, and right now, your job is simple. Resign tomorrow morning or we will make sure you are ruined. We have prepared a generous separation package," Lawrence added. "Sign it, walk away. Everyone is happy. And if I do not," Stewart's smile tightened. "There are things in your performance reviews, inconsistencies, warnings, behavioral concerns, all properly dated and signed. Nothing obvious, just enough to make any future employer hesitate. Plus, those accounting irregularities you have been investigating," Lawrence said. "Interesting how your access code appears in the system during those changes." My throat went dry. They had been planning this for months. "We need your answer now," Stewart demanded. "You have responsibilities to your family," Lawrence added. "Your mother's medical bills, your sister's tuition. We would be shamed to throw it all away." The mention of my family ignited something in me. They had researched my personal life, my weaknesses, my vulnerabilities, but they had missed something crucial. I looked at both of them and smiled. "There is a third option you have not considered." Their smirks faltered for just a second. Always the optimist, Stewart recovered. "There is no third option. Your resignation letter on the chief executive officer's desk by 9 o'clock, Lawrence said. "Otherwise, we start the termination process with everything we have assembled." They walked away confident in their victory, the echo of their expensive shoes fading as they disappeared toward their cars. I sat in my sedan for 20 minutes, hands trembling on the steering wheel, the weight of their threat pressed against my chest. 3 years of watching them climb over others, claiming credit, manipulating numbers, and breaking spirits. They had chosen me for their latest project, not for my skills, but because they needed someone expendable, someone they could control, and ultimately sacrifice. Their plan was simple: implement dangerous cost-cutting measures, reap massive bonuses for the savings, then vanish before the consequences emerged. I would be left holding responsibility for decisions I never made. The system they had created was designed to protect them and implicate me. What they did not realize is that I had recognized their pattern from day one. Before I turned the key in the ignition, I reached for my phone and typed a simple message. They made their move. Tomorrow morning, be ready. My name is Stephen Vance. I am 48 and have spent the last 20 years climbing the corporate ladder with calculated precision. My colleagues describe me as detail-oriented, perhaps obsessively so. I maintain a modest lifestyle despite my six-figure income. My apartment is minimalist, functional rather than flashy. I drive a reliable sedan rather than something to impress others. I have never married, though I have had relationships. None survived my devotion to work. What people notice first about me is my memory. I remember conversations verbatim. I recall numbers after seeing them once. This gift made me valuable in quarterly reviews and strategy sessions. It also made me dangerous to people like Lawrence and Stewart. I joined the company 3 years ago as a senior financial and safety compliance analyst. The job offered the salary I needed, to support my mother's ongoing cancer treatments and help my younger sister through graduate school. The position seemed perfect: challenging work, good benefits, and a chance to advance. Within 6 months, I understood the reality beneath the polished surface. Chief Executive Officer George Bennett was nearing retirement, more concerned with his legacy than daily operations. This created a power vacuum that Lawrence and Stewart had filled with ruthless efficiency. Lawrence had joined the company 12 years earlier. His background in sales gave him a charismatic edge that charmed the board. He knew which country club members to befriend, which charity events to attend, which personal details to mention in conversation. People instinctively trusted him. Stewart was his perfect complement: analytical, precise, always prepared with data and projections. His economics degree and advanced credentials from prestigious universities gave him credibility. He designed the metrics that made their initiatives look successful, regardless of the actual results. Together, they controlled the information flow to the executive team and the board. Anyone who challenged them found themselves marginalized, then pushed out. 8 mid-level managers had left during my first year alone. I survived by making myself useful but unthreatening. I produced exceptional work, but let them take credit. I noticed their questionable practices, but kept my concerns to myself. I became a trusted resource, someone who could execute complex tasks without asking uncomfortable questions. Then 63-year-old Chief Executive Officer George Bennett announced Project Revival, a comprehensive initiative to save our struggling company. Revenue had declined for 3 consecutive quarters. The stock price was falling. Rumors of layoffs circulated. Something dramatic needed to happen. Lawrence and Stewart were appointed as project leaders, given extraordinary authority to identify and implement cost-saving measures. They needed a compliance analyst to join their team, someone to run the numbers and prepare presentations. They chose me. Stefan has the technical skills we need, Stewart had told the executive committee, and he works well with limited supervision. He has also gained valuable perspective across multiple departments, Lawrence added, which gives him the big picture understanding this project requires. I accepted the role with appropriate gratitude and enthusiasm. What they really wanted was someone they could control and eventually blame if necessary. Our first team meeting established the pattern. Lawrence outlined aggressive cost-cutting targets that seemed impossible without compromising safety or quality. Stewart presented the implementation timeline that gave us barely 8 weeks. We will need to focus on operational efficiencies, I suggested. There are several areas where process improvements would yield results. We are looking for immediate impact, Stewart interrupted. Process improvements take time we do not have. The executive committee wants decisive action. Lawrence agreed. Bold moves that show immediate results. Their real plan emerged over the following weeks. They proposed eliminating key quality control positions, replacing experienced workers with less expensive contractors, and postponing essential maintenance on critical equipment. I raised concerns in each meeting. These maintenance deferments create significant safety risks, I warned. Your job is to quantify savings, not assess risks, Stewart reminded me. The safety team has signed off on this approach, Lawrence claimed, though I never saw documentation. I documented everything: dates, times, specific suggestions, and their responses. I maintained my own meeting notes separate from the official minutes that Stewart controlled. One Tuesday morning, after our weekly status meeting, I noticed a disturbing pattern. The official meeting minutes omitted my safety concerns. My suggestions for less risky alternatives had disappeared. The record showed unanimous support for decisions I had explicitly questioned. That afternoon, I discovered that several safety inspection reports had been altered. Maintenance histories for key equipment had been backdated. Certification documents showed inspections that never occurred. When I mentioned these discrepancies to Stewart, his response was immediate and cold. Your inexperience is showing. Stephen, trust the process. We have done this before. That evening I made a decision. I would play along but watch carefully. I would earn their trust while studying their methods. I would build relationships with people throughout the company, from security guards to executive assistants to technology specialists. Most importantly, I would prepare for the moment when Lawrence and Stewart would inevitably try to make me their scapegoat. For 6 months, I gathered information. I learned who else they had hurt. Former employees now struggling, ideas stolen, careers derailed. I discovered their pattern of implementing dangerous changes, collecting bonuses based on short-term gains, then moving on before the consequences became apparent. The parking garage confrontation confirmed my suspicions. Their plan had accelerated because the annual safety inspection was just days away. An outside inspector would identify the shortcuts they had implemented. Questions would be asked, documentation would be examined. They needed me gone, resigned and silenced by a separation agreement before anyone could connect them to the dangerous conditions they had created. What they did not realize is that I had anticipated this moment for months, and I had prepared accordingly. The morning after the parking garage confrontation, I woke at 4:30 after barely 2 hours of sleep. My mind had refused to shut down, replaying their threats like a broken record. I showered in hot water, hoping to wash away the feeling of being cornered. As I dressed, I chose my outfit with meticulous care: a charcoal gray suit, a crisp white shirt, and the gold watch my father gave me when I graduated college. For resilience, he had said. I needed every ounce of it today. That watch was a physical reminder that quiet determination always outlasts loud arrogance. I packed my briefcase with the files I had compiled, ready to face the executive team on my own terms. Back in my apartment, I sat at the kitchen table and looked at my mother's medical bills. The cost of her treatments was a constant weight, but I had managed to save enough to cover 6 months of expenses. I also checked my younger sister's university tuition schedule, ensuring her final semester was fully funded. My family was my priority, and I would not let Lawrence and Stewart's threats derail their future. I reviewed my files one last time, ensuring every date, signature, and digital timestamp was cataloged. I was not just protecting myself, I was preparing to dismantle the corrupt system they had built. As I went to bed, I felt a deep sense of resolve. The battle would begin tomorrow, and I was ready. By 5:45, I was driving to the office. The roads were nearly empty. Streetlights reflected off puddles from last night's rain. My resignation letter sat in my briefcase, typed, signed, and ready. Lawrence and Stewart would see it as surrender. They did not understand what was really happening. I parked in my usual spot at 6:15. The early hour meant the security guard, Roy Smith, was still at the main entrance rather than the rotating daytime team. "Morning, Mr. Vance," he said, genuinely surprised. "Everything okay? Never seen you here this early." "Big day ahead, Roy," I replied, signing in manually rather than using my key card. "How is your daughter doing in her new school?" "Loving it," he beamed. "That tutor you recommended made all the difference." I had helped Roy find affordable math tutoring for his daughter 3 months earlier, a small kindness that now meant I had an ally who remembered faces and times. The executive floor was deserted when I stepped off the elevator at 6:25. Perfect. I walked past my office toward the boardroom. The door was unlocked, just as Alice Porter, the executive assistant, had promised it would be. Alice had worked for the company 22 years. She had seen 4 chief executive officers come and go and knew where all the secrets were buried. She had watched Stewart humiliate her nephew into quitting last year. I arranged 12 copies of a thin folder at each seat around the massive table. The folders contained nothing but my business card. Then I sent a text, "Boardroom ready," and waited. At 7:30, Chief Executive Officer George Bennett arrived with 3 board members: Ronald Clayton, Dennis Foster, and Gloria Simmons. All looked grim and confused. "Stephen," George began, "your message was concerning. You mentioned immediate threats to company operations and safety." "Yes, sir. But we should wait for everyone to arrive." "Everyone?" Dennis asked. "Who exactly did you invite?" Before I could answer, the door opened. Head of Legal Clara Brooks entered, followed by Chief of Security Gordon Brooks. The surprise on George's face confirmed what I suspected. They rarely attended morning executive sessions. "Thank you for coming," I said. "Please, everyone, take any seat." Lawrence arrived next, his confident stride faltering when he saw the unexpected gathering. He recovered quickly, flashing his trademark smile. "Well, this is unusual. Morning, everyone." Stewart entered last, his typical punctuality betrayed by the sweat on his brow. His eyes darted from face to face, calculating the situation. "What is the meaning of this?" he asked, trying to sound casual. "That is what we are all wondering," George replied. "Stephen called this emergency session." Lawrence laughed, a practiced sound designed to break tension. "Our analyst called a board meeting." "That is actually correct," I interrupted. "I asked George for this meeting. He graciously agreed." Lawrence and Stewart exchanged glances. They had not expected me to have direct access to George. Their carefully constructed hierarchy should have prevented it. "Last night," I began, "senior managers Lawrence Finch and Stewart Webb confronted me in the parking garage. They demanded my resignation by 9 o'clock today, threatening to ruin me professionally if I refused." The room fell silent. "That is absurd," Stewart sputtered. "We had a conversation about performance concerns." "Yes, but they specifically mentioned modifying my performance reviews, manufacturing behavioral concerns, and framing me for accounting irregularities." I continued calmly. "These are serious accusations, Clara Brooks," the legal head noted. "Do you have any proof of this conversation?" "No," I admitted. Lawrence relaxed visibly. "Look, clearly Stephen misunderstood our conversation. We expressed concerns about his recent work quality, nothing more." "But that is not why I asked for this meeting," I said. "The threat was merely a symptom of a much larger problem that threatens this company's survival." I opened my laptop and connected it to the projector. For 6 months, I have been part of Project Revival. During that time, I have observed systematically dangerous decisions that put lives at risk and expose us to catastrophic liability. "This is ridiculous," Stewart snapped. "Project Revival has achieved unprecedented cost savings. The numbers speak for themselves." "Yes, the numbers," I agreed. "Let us talk about those numbers." The screen displayed maintenance logs for critical equipment, dates, signatures, inspection results. "These show our compliance with safety regulations," I explained. "Every box checked, every inspection passed. But the reality does not match these reports." Lawrence leaned forward. "What exactly do you mean?" "I am stating that these inspection reports were falsified. The equipment has not been properly maintained in 8 months." Stewart laughed dismissively. "And your proof?" "Because if you are making accusations without evidence." I clicked to the next slide. "These are the original maintenance requests that were denied. And these are the technicians who were scheduled to perform inspections, but were reassigned at the last minute." George Bennett frowned. "Would you like to hear from the technicians directly?" "They are waiting next door." The atmosphere shifted. Lawrence's smile vanished. "This ambush with unverified claims is why we had concerns about Stephen's judgment," Stewart said, his voice steady. "I agree that verbal claims can be disputed," I replied, "which is why I brought something more substantive." I handed each person a sealed envelope. "Inside, you will find a complete timeline of Project Revival, including every meeting and every risk assessment that was overruled. You will notice that my objections to unsafe practices are extensively documented, contrary to the official meeting minutes." Stewart scanned the contents frantically. "This is your word against company records," he said. "Meeting minutes are approved by all participants." "Actually," I corrected, "I never approved those minutes. My signature was added without my consent." Dennis Foster, a senior board member, looked disturbed. "If what you say is true, why did you not report these concerns earlier?" "I needed to understand the full scope of the problem first," I replied. Lawrence stood. "This is absurd. Stephen has been overwhelmed, and now he is trying to deflect blame. Which brings me to the most important part," I continued. "The safety inspection scheduled for tomorrow will identify at least 17 critical violations, stopping production immediately. Fines will follow, and that is before we face lawsuits." The room grew tense. George's retirement plans and the board members' reputations were at stake. "If what you are saying is true," Gloria Simmons said, "why would 2 senior managers deliberately create such liability?" "Because they will not be here to face the consequences," I answered. "Their bonuses for Project Revival's cost savings are scheduled to pay out next week. Stewart has accepted a position with a competitor next month. Lawrence has been interviewing with 3 different companies." Stewart's face drained of color. "How could you possibly know that?" I finished for him. "The same way I know about the actual maintenance. Costs you hidden in miscellaneous expense accounts. The same way I know about the safety incidents you classified as operator error." I clicked to a new slide showing a flowchart. Red indicates equipment operating beyond safety parameters. Yellow indicates systems without required backups. We are one malfunction away from a catastrophic failure. George Bennett looked physically ill. What is your proposed solution? Ronald Clayton asked. First, we need to initiate emergency maintenance procedures before the inspection tomorrow. I have prepared a prioritized list of critical systems requiring immediate attention. The cost would be significant, Stewart objected. Less than regulatory fines and lawsuits, Clara Brooks countered. Second, we need to reschedule the inspection. I suggest requesting a 30-day extension, citing planned upgrades. George nodded. That could work. Finally, I said, we need new leadership for Project Revival. Here it was, the moment Lawrence and Stewart would fight back. Lawrence did not disappoint. This is clearly a play for position. Stephen wants our jobs. He manufactured this crisis to advance his career. Actually, I have accepted a position elsewhere, I replied calmly. My resignation is effective 2 weeks from today. This unexpected statement stunned the room. Lawrence's triumphant expression froze. You are leaving? George Bennett asked, confused. Yes, but before I go, I want to ensure this company survives. Stewart recovered first. If you are leaving anyway, what is your interest in all this? I looked him in the eyes. Because people could get hurt, because cutting corners on safety is never acceptable, and because the employees who remain deserve better leadership. Dennis Foster turned to George. We need to discuss this privately. George nodded. Lawrence Stewart, please wait in my office. Stephen, stay here. Everyone else, let us reconvene in 1 hour. As they filed out, Lawrence brushed past me. You have no idea what you have done, he whispered. I watched him leave, wondering if he was right. Had I miscalculated? My plan depended on several factors aligning perfectly. If any one element failed, my career would be destroyed. The door closed, leaving me alone. I checked my watch, 8:45. In 15 minutes, I was supposed to have my resignation on George's desk. Instead, I had launched a direct challenge against two of the most powerful people in the company. My phone buzzed with a text from Alice. Lawrence and Stewart are in George's office. Loud voices. Security called. Another text followed. Lawrence is using his personal phone. Calling allies, the boardroom door opened. Gordon Brooks, chief of security, stepped in. Stephen, I need you to come with me. Am I being escorted out? Just following instructions, he said. We walked to the executive wing. Gordon stopped at a door. Wait here, he said, swiping his badge. Inside was a small conference room with a laptop. Secure room, no recording devices, Gordon said. You have got 20 minutes. He closed the door. I sat down at the laptop. It was logged into the secure server. A message read, access granted per protocol 17B. Someone high up, possibly Clara Brooks from legal, had given me an opportunity. I worked quickly, downloading the internal chat logs where Lawrence and Stewart explicitly discussed altering safety records, backdating approvals, and framing me using my login credentials. With 5 minutes remaining, I copied the system log records, showing exactly who had modified which documents. The timestamps told their own story. The door opened 20 minutes later. Gordon stood with Clara. Did you find what you needed? Clara asked. Yes, thank you. We need to go to the executive conference room, Gordon said. The room was smaller, designed for closed-door decisions. George Bennett sat at the head of the table. Board members Ronald Clayton, Dennis Foster, and Gloria Simmons formed a somber line. Lawrence and Stewart sat opposite them, both looking composed but tense. George gestured to the empty chair. Stephen, please join us. As I sat, Lawrence smiled. Interesting performance this morning, Stephen. Creative approach to resignation, I will give you that. This is not about resignation, George said. We are here to address safety concerns. Stewart leaned forward. We identified compliance issues 3 weeks ago, Lawrence explained. Rather than cause alarm, we began quiet preparations. Stewart nodded. That is why maintenance requests appear delayed. We consolidated them. And the falsified inspection reports? Dennis Foster asked. Preliminary worksheets only, Stewart replied. Stephen mistook them for official reports. Lawrence pressed his advantage. We were concerned about Stephen's behavior, working unusual hours and requesting files outside his scope. We suggested he step back, Stewart added, not as a threat. If your explanation is accurate, Gloria Simmons said, why did you not document this review? We did. Stewart reached for his briefcase, producing a report dated 3 weeks earlier. May I see that? I asked, and Stewart slid it across the table. I flipped through it. Impressive work, I commented, especially considering this template was not created until yesterday. Stewart's expression did not change. I do not know what you mean. The document properties show it was created yesterday at 9:43 in the evening. Sir, I believe Clara Brooks should examine the system logs. Clara nodded, stating she had already pulled those records. Lawrence's smile wavered, the meeting adjourned for audits. 2 hours passed in isolation. I sat reviewing my notes, wondering what was happening. The door opened and George Bennett entered alone. You understand that if your allegations prove false, your career is over? He asked. I nodded. Why risk it? Because 37 people work directly with the equipment Lawrence and Stewart neglected. Their lives matter more than my career. George studied me, then stood. One last thing. Lawrence mentioned you have been obsessed with ink colors. Any idea what he meant? I kept my expression neutral. No, sir, I have no idea. After George left, I sat back. Gordon appeared, directing me to the conference room. Everyone was present, plus Inspector Adams from the Safety Regulatory Commission. George stood. Stephen, we spent the afternoon reviewing the documentation. After examining the evidence, certain facts have become clear. Critical maintenance was delayed, safety protocols were compromised, and documentation was altered. Given the seriousness, George said, Project Revival will be paused. Inspector Adams has allowed us 30 days to rectify the issues. All project personnel will be reassigned. George turned to me. Given your resignation, we have decided to accept it effective immediately, with full severance. Actually, the second unfamiliar person finally spoke. She stood up. I am Teresa Albright, Assistant District Attorney from the White Collar Crime Division. I received concerning information regarding safety violations and potential corporate fraud. I am officially opening an investigation. Lawrence's complexion paled. An investigation? Surely that is premature. This goes beyond communication issues, Teresa replied. Deliberately falsifying safety records is a criminal offense. Stewart found his voice. Any discrepancies were administrative errors. Teresa smiled. Would you maintain that position under oath? A corporate matter does not warrant an investigation, Lawrence sputtered. When lives are endangered, it absolutely does, Teresa countered. And when the evidence includes recorded conversation discussing document falsification, it becomes my jurisdiction. I placed a recording device on the table. Remember that third option I mentioned? This was part of it. I have been recording our meetings for months. That is illegal, Lawrence gasped. Actually, Teresa interrupted, recording is permitted when there is a reasonable belief of criminal activity. Under California Penal Code, Section 470, forging an employee's signature on safety certifications is a felony. The forensic digital analysis proves that the signatures on critical approvals were copy-pasted and backdated on your work computers. Under corporate law, these forged approvals are void ab initio, meaning they have no legal validity. By fabricating these records to hide compliance failures and pocket $300,000 in performance bonuses, you committed a severe breach of fiduciary duty to this corporation. Stewart turned to me, his voice barely audible. You planned this? No, I corrected. I simply prepared for it. The recordings are just the beginning, Teresa continued. We have system logs showing document alterations, testimony from maintenance staff, and financial records. Lawrence stood. I want my lawyer. Stewart followed. Yes, I want my lawyer. You will both need good representation, Teresa agreed. By evening, Lawrence and Stewart had been escorted from the building. Their careers were effectively over. No company would touch them after this. As I packed my office, George Bennett appeared. Why not come to me directly, he asked. Would you have believed me over them? His silence was answer enough. My third option was not fighting their power, I explained. It was ensuring they destroyed themselves their own arrogance. George nodded. I would like you to consider staying, he said. With Lawrence and Stewart gone, we will need someone who understands the compliance status. Thank you for the offer, but I made commitments I intend to keep. I start my new position next month. As I walked to my car that evening, my phone rang. Teresa Albright's name appeared. Perfect timing, she said. I have just finished the preliminary interviews. Lawrence is trying to blame Stewart, who claims he was just following directives. Classic circular firing squad. I smiled, watching employees leave for the day, knowing they would work in safer conditions. The revenge was not in destroying Lawrence and Stewart. It was in forcing them to face consequences they never imagined. The two men who believed themselves untouchable discovered that no amount of charm or manipulation could save them from their own documented words. When powerful people try to corner you, remember there is always a third option they have not considered. Sometimes winning is about documenting everything, building quiet alliances, and waiting for the perfect moment to let them defeat themselves. If you found this story valuable, please hit that like button and subscribe. Share it with someone facing their own workplace bullies. Until next time, remember, you always have more options than they want you to believe.